Kodak, the company Kodak. For the long, they were the original people, I mean, like 128 years they were in business. They manufactured cameras, film, all kinds of film. When the digital camera revolution came along, Kodak wasn't paying attention. And they went out of business.
Really?
Yes, they went out of business.
Oh my goodness.
In fact, what's so sad is that there was a theater in downtown LA that used to be called the Kodak Theater. When they went out of business, the name changed. So they've been gone from that building anymore.
Wow.
But so it's that type of thing that if you're paying attention and doing something about it, then it's not going to be so difficult. But here's an example of a company, a well-known, well-respected, and profitable company went out of business.
That's ridiculous.
Well, that's what happens. Now, another example of revolution, which is a little more constructive, is Uber. Uber came along and challenged the traditional taxi industry. But they did it with, in Uber, they didn't have to have a fleet of cars or vehicles. They were able to get people to hire people to use their own cars. Now, they've got a lot of problems now because they're having some financial difficulties, but the concept is there. Pluto symbolizes transformation. This is change that is long-term. Pluto, as Al talked about, is gradual change, starting digging up, making, you can generally feel something coming before Pluto, at the beginning of the start of the Pluto cycle. But it's change. You're not necessarily going to know the outcome of the change right away. It represents a cycle of death, destruction, renovation, accompanied by tremendous powers, decay at one level, followed by new life for old at the other level. So even though the energy of Pluto may seem really tough on you, if you're willing to give up, sometimes it can involve a physical death, but it doesn't have to. What it generally means is the death of old ideas or death of old habit patterns. We've been going along for so long, so now something's starting to say, hey, this isn't working anymore. Pay attention. It's time to make a change. Pluto is currently, as Al said, in Capricorn. And it's going to be in Capricorn for another 10 years. Wow. I know. I have it in my chart too, in my 6th house, and it's like, really? Okay, so one example of change that has been really controversial is the picking of the next Supreme Court justice, because there's a vacancy on the Supreme Court. Any Supreme Court justice who's elected, chosen, is going to be on the court for a lifetime. So if the people involved in choosing the next justice are constructive, they have constructive ideas, they're paying attention, they're doing it for the betterment of the whole, then we could have a pretty good choice, because that person is going to be influencing the decisions of the court for the next 25, 30 years and beyond. Many people are unhappy with our two-party political system. So, is that going to change?
How about all?
Well, I don't know if all, but anyway. Maintaining voter ID laws. That's something that several states are struggling with. They're trying to force, in one respect, people to have to prove their identity when they go to vote. So what's that really about? Is it somebody trying to maintain the status quo? Are they trying to stay in control of the political system? Or is there a better way of doing something so it encourages people to vote and makes it equal for everybody? Okay. Now, you've all been given a copy of the unconscious interpretive apparatus, so we're going to talk about that. And Does everybody have a copy?
You done? No. You got one more of those?
Yeah.
Didn't get back here.
We don't go in here.
I don't know.
Oh, I got yours too.
Thank you.
Charts, I got.
So on your chart, well, you don't pass in the rest of them out. On your chart, locate these 2 planets. And whatever sign they're in, mark that on your copy on the grid. If you know where it is, and you don't have your chart, but if you know where it is, and go ahead and mark it.
Mark it where?
On the grid, on your copy.
On this?
Yes.
What box?
No, not on this. Okay, on this.
Right in there.
Yeah, so for example, in my chart, maybe I should move this forward a little.
You want the transit or the?
No, the natal, your natal. So for example, in my chart, in my natal chart, I have Uranus in Gemini. So I would put it over here, I would mark it over here, on the grid.
What are we looking for?
You're looking for Uranus and Pluto in your chart. Oh,
So what do I do for the ones that, so I just put circle?
these are the symbols you're looking for in your chart.
You haven't, you guys haven't.
Okay, so we'll figure it out later. Okay. All right. Okay, so now we're going to, do you need more time to mark your grid? No, okay, all right. So now we're going to discuss these dynamics. And these interpretations have been developed over years of study of astrology. And, sorry? No, well, we've talked about Pluto, but Thane and Carl Payne Tobey got together and thought that it would, dividing the signs up, the dynamics up in this particular format, would help explain a little bit more, give us a different perspective on our unconscious, the unconscious drives that we may not be aware of, but are going on. So we have signs that deal with the past and signs that deal with the future. We also have category of, all these signs are in the individual category. We have family survival and social survival. The water signs are Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. And water represents the emotions. So this is a good place for you to look at areas where you may be more emotional than somebody else. Somebody may be more intellectual than you are. The earth signs, Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo, are called the dynamic reactors, or the containers. If you think about a lake or a river, what defines a lake or a river?
Borders.
Shoreline.
Shores.
Okay, earth, the earth around. So that gives a sense of boundary, but it's a definition. So water and earth together. Now, if water or emotions get out of control or they start to flood, then you can have the river overflowing the riverbank. Louisiana now has a terrible time with flooding again. So we could use some of their rain out here, but okay, so the earth signs are the containers. Now with Cancer, I need a copy of the green handout. Thanks. I forgot to bring one up here. Okay. So if you look at the individual survival dynamic for Cancer, the basic question that Cancerians are going to ask is, are we going to get enough to eat? If you're an individual and you want to survive, what are you looking for? Food, of course. So are we going to get enough to eat? Or are we going to starve to death? So the drive, the unconscious drive of Cancer is to be out there looking for food and,
My partner and I both have moon in Cancer. Our refrigerator is full at all times.
yeah.
And if that's not enough, try her garden.
Okay. So then the dynamic reactor for Cancer is Capricorn. And the purpose of Capricorn is to help give structure to Cancer looking for food, or in terms of survival.
Wow.
So the two of these are working together in terms of, okay, I'll help you survive. We'll put together structures, we'll put together things that can help us with food gathering and all of that. Then we get to family. So if you have a group of individuals, what's gonna happen next? How do you get more individuals?
Breed.
You mate.
Yeah, and there it is, sex.
Oh.
See, this is a sex lecture, yeah, this is a sex lecture. Okay, so the drive of Scorpio is one of the next most primitive life purposes. The family begins before that of the individual, but it also extends beyond the individual. So Scorpio's out there, okay, let's get this going. We're gonna start planting those seeds and keep life going. So, but are you going to, if you're continuing the family, getting the family started, one concern of Scorpio is, are they going to steal your mate?
What?
Are they going to steal your mate?
Oh.
So then with the help of Taurus, which is the dynamic reactor, Taurus will help protect the family. Well, we've got the family, so what do we need? We need a home. So let's get a home together. And you provide the family, I'll provide the home. Then we get to social survival. We've got the individual's family now, but what about society? Now that we've got all these families together, we're in a group, we now have society. How are we going to take care of society? Pisces comes along and says, everything's going fine, except I've noticed that there are some people that may not be able to afford a home, or they may not know what to do to get food. So I'm going to help them find out what they need. But the most important thing with Pisces, it's not survival of the fittest. It's survival of the underdog. Pisces will champion the underdog. So you see a lot of Pisces in prisons, in social work, that are going to be helping people. And then the dynamic reactor container is Virgo. So Virgo says, okay, I know what to do. We're going to get those people to work. We've got all these projects. We can have them. We'll do the WPA. We'll have them do this. We'll have them do that. The thing is, we're going to get them to work. We don't want them to be lazy and just laying around with no purpose. So now that we've got, and these signs are all considered, the focus is they're more concerned about the past. Then we get to the future. Individual non-survival, family non-survival, social non-survival. Now this does not mean death. In order to make progress, these signs are concerned with change. It's like they're saying to the water and earth signs, fine, you guys have established a great foundation, but it's not going to be working forever. So we need to make some change. So then we have the individual non-survival fire sign. We've got the fire signs of Leo, Aries, Sagittarius, the air signs Aquarius, Libra, Gemini.
Yay.
So Leo, this is concerns an individual. So Leo's drive is to help the individual grow, the individual change. If Leo is too egotistical in terms of that process, then they cause a lot of problems and alienate a lot of people. But if they're really being helpful and constructive, then they can make a pretty good leader and say, okay, I've got this great idea, or it's over here has a great idea. Let's look at this, let's do something. This will be different. Aquarius will say, Aquarius has more of, is looking more at the humanitarian aspect of, and will help Leo, remind Leo that it's not just the individual ego that we're trying to work with, that we need to look at the whole person. But if you, fire needs air in order to burn. But if you get too much wind, then we have the California wildfires. Or any place else that starts to burn down. If you don't have enough air, then the fire isn't going to burn. So it always needs to be a balance. Aries. Aries is concerned with the family. Aries wants to change the structure of the family. They most often will leave their own natal family at an early age because it's like, okay, you guys are doing things your way, I've got a different idea. So a lot of times they'll just leave the family and they'll go out and pioneer different things in the world. They will cobble together a sense of family from people. But sometimes they like to be in charge of the family too. Because I had an Aries great uncle, and we were visiting in California one year. I think I must have been about 17, and my great uncle had worked for IT&T, which was a precursor to AT&T. And he and his wife had lived in Buenos Aires, and they were responsible for starting the telephone system when Perón was in power. And we went to visit. He said, he stood before me, he said, Ann, he said, I know you're young now, but when you get a really good paying job, you need to stay with that company for 25 years. When you retire, you're going to have a nice retirement package and probably a watch. Fortunately, I kept my mouth shut. But I was thinking, no, that's not for me. I will not be with the company for 25 years. So I said, okay, thank you. And I left. So Libra, the goal of Libra is to have a fair balance, but Librans want a beautiful family. They want to have a lot of harmony. They want to have very little conflict or no conflict, but they're out to make to improve the family and make it more beautiful and harmonious. Sagittarius, yay. Okay, Sagittarians want to improve society. And this can be done through religion, through teaching, through education, through any kind of reform. So Sagittarians are interested in working with groups in terms of making improvement. Gemini is involved in communication. And Gemini will come along and say, well, it's fine to have ideas, but we need to get them out into the world and let people know about them. So Gemini and Sagittarius will work together to accomplish that kind of dynamic. Okay. Next. All right. So in considering these changes, the changes these planets represent in your chart, understand that change is going to happen, and especially with Pluto. Any place in your chart, Pluto, you're going to change. You're going to be, I won't say you're not going to change, you're going to be prompted and pushed to change. But you need to keep in mind that it's a necessary part of your evolution. If you look at it from that standpoint, that's going to put a more constructive light on what's going on. Doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be any easier, but if you can keep in mind that something is prompting you to make change from within, then the experience you have in your world is going to be a lot better. Okay. And remember that what is dying are outdated beliefs, outdated patterns of doing things. So you need to really take a look at it and say, well, you know, what's working? Maybe I do need to make a change. Maybe I need to throw some stuff out. Maybe I need to, maybe I've been stuck in a rut on my
And
job.
garage sale.
There you go, you can have a garage sale. So I hope this has given you a different perspective on change, and it will help you. And the one thing you can do with your chart, you can look at your chart and fill out the grid with the rest of the planets in your chart, so that you get an overall understanding. Are you more of an individual person, a family person, or a social person in terms of the unconscious dynamics? So I hope this has given you a lot of thought, especially to use in the breakout groups this afternoon. But I want to leave you with this thought from astrologer Robert Hand. Life is, or should be, a constant, ongoing confrontation between yourself and the world, with an energy that keeps everything fresh and lively. I'll read that again. Life is, or should be, a constant, ongoing confrontation between yourself and the world, with an energy that keeps everything fresh and lively. Thank you.